Apologies, gentlemen. Kulata has just come in quickly to give us the substance of the Tinubu space. So, Kulata, give us what you got.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to try and be brief as possible because I get some things where to work on. So the issue. So there's a DEA was the one that started this probe. DEA is Drug Enforcement Agency. So they caught some Yankee guy called Edward. It was on heroin, white heroin. They arrested him. So the guy now confessed and told them where they bought the heroin. So you guys pay attention. So the pager back in the day was pager that they used to communicate. So they found out where that pager was subscribed to. The pager was subscribed to this address because this is a recurring address, 7504 South Stewart Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. So that address is linked to someone called Adegboyega Muiz Akonde. But the person that was helping to do the dealing is another guy called Agbele. So that Agbele works for this Adegboyega Muiz Akonde guy. So those are the people that trade drugs. So from it started with the Edward guy, got to Agbele. Akonde is one guy that I think moved to Nigeria eventually and was doing his heroin business, his white heroin business from Nigeria. So they started investigating. Once they catch one person, they'll catch others. So that's where the names of associates of Akonde and the Agbele came across. And that's the first place where you find Bola Tinubu's name. So Bola Tinubu is considered one of the associates. And Bola Tinubu came to the US in December 1989. He opened two accounts. One is an individual money market account, like a trading account. And one is something called a now account. I don't even know what that means. But pay attention. Tinubu stated that his address is 7504 South Stewart, Chicago, Illinois. That's the same address as that, what's he call him again? Agbele and the Akonde, the drug dealers. And meanwhile, they arrested Agbele. Agbele confessed to his crime. So Agbele is a confirmed drug dealer, and he let them know that Akonde is his don. So Tinubu opened the account, deposited $80,000 into First Heritage Bank via wire transfer. So the transaction was completed on the direction of Akonde that resided in Houston. So it's still the same Akonde guy, Houston, Nigeria, drug dealer. So according to the bank records, Tinubu also opened joint account with him and his wife, Oluremi. They opened a joint account. So anyway, that 80,000 was there. Tinubu withdrew 20,000 from the now account. They went into a lot of details. There was remaining 10,000. So the bottom line is there's a link, which is the address that Tinubu used to open those accounts, and the same address that was caught on the pager that he caught the drug person. So you can say, well, that's correlation. You don't know whether correlation is causation, but I'm just letting you guys know there's a link. So I think Tinubu came back January 6th in 1990. He completed a credit application. In the credit application, he did inform that he was working for Mobile. He said he was getting $2,400 per month in Mobile. That was what his salary was in Mobile, and this was January 1990. So, however, his credit report in 1990 also has this same address, 7424 South Shore, Chicago, Illinois. This was the same address that was used to open. So I keep repeating that address whenever I find it. So anyway, Tinubu was given the loan, $8,000 to buy a car with a car dealership. Then again in January 9, 1990, Tinubu bought a Nissan 240X. They even have the VIN number for $17,754.03. But it provided a different address, 3515 Maple Lane, Hazel Crest, Illinois. So he provided a different address. So bank records also disclosed in 1989 that Akonde opened checking account provided the social security number, and I think was still using one of those old addresses. They wired that 80,000. You see that initial 80,000 that Tinubu used to open account. I think he wired it back to that guy. So FBI continued doing their investigation, and I think record shows that the Akonde guy, the drug guy, with his wife, her name is Audrey, they filed joint income tax and said they were self-employed. That they only had the adjusted income was $10,500. Now, this is where Tinubu things now get different, where you cannot tie it back to this Akonde because the initial transaction, that 80K, that's definitely coming from the Akonde. But Tinubu now came in 1990, deposited $661,000 in his own individual money market account in 1991. He also deposited 1,216,500 into the same money market account. And the balance in the account, I think eventually, is a trading account, was 980,967. But this was deposited separately. This particular deposit is not linked to the drug guy, and is also using another address. So, of course, FBI started doing investigation to find out Tinubu, because in 1991 they found out that Tinubu started opening accounts in Citibank, and he transferred $560,000 from that account he initially opened, that First Heritage Bank, the money market account. It transferred $560,000 to the Citibank, and so they contacted Mobile to find out, okay, what's this guy's employment status? Mobile confirmed that he's a treasurer. So they also asked Mobile, is he moving money? Is the treasurer, is he moving money on your behalf? Mobile said they don't have any account in South Chicago, that is not moving any account on the behalf. So they now want to say that, well, Tinubu has not paid American taxes since 1984. Because by law, as long as you're a citizen, I think Tinubu is a citizen, you should be paying your taxes. Even with green card, you probably need to be paying your taxes. So he hasn't paid taxes in 1984. So in January 1992, they applied for seizure warrants by a magistrate Judge Rosemond or something like that from North District of Illinois. So they applied for seizure warrant, and shortly after, they contacted that First Heritage Bank, the first account he opened, for money, whatever. And they also confirmed, Tinubu admitted that he had wired 100,000 to Akonde's bank in Houston. And that 80,000 of the funds that was used to open that account initially, that it came from Akonde. But you can link that first opening of account, that first 80,000 to Akonde. But the big sums, that 1.2 and that 600,000, I don't think you can link that with Akonde. And also the transfers he made to Citibank. So eventually, what they did was just to talk to Tinubu. They asked if he had other accounts in other places in the US. He said no. Then they now went to Citibank International to see if he had additional accounts in other Citibanks worldwide. He did have additional accounts in other Citibank worldwide. So with that, they issued a seizure warrant. It was issued in South District of New York. Seizure warrant was issued for him. And they said he had 2 additional corporate accounts, Compass Finance and investment company. So he was running some other corporate account, maybe not directly under his name. So at the end of the day, they got him on unexplained money. So yes, there's a link between him and that Akonde with that address I've been reading out. And there's also a link with him and that Akonde with that $80,000. But the
Akonde, of course, is a known drug dealer.
Is a known drug dealer, of course. The Akonde and the Agbele, they arrested the Agbele. The Agbele confessed. The Akonde is an heroin dealer. That one is straight up.
The Akonde is on the run. He ran to Nigeria. He's on the run. So
yeah. So they said for the reason of first of all, for the reasons set forth above, there's probably cause to believe the funds in the account held at the first bank account he opened, First Heritage Bank, the Citibank, and the Citibank International, in the names of Bola Tinubu and Compass Finance Investment, blah, 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 represent properties that was involved in transaction in violation of section, blah, 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 to such property, or represent the proceeds of drug trafficking. So they are not sure. They said, or they said, because if they were sure, they would not let him go. So I think this is where maybe he is smart, or maybe that money was from corruption in Nigeria, separate from the drug money. Nobody knows. So they said, well, is illicit money, is unexplained money, and because of that, they seized it. And that's why he could bargain and get out of it. Because if they caught him red-handed with drugs, he will not go out. Maybe they may reduce, if he had a plea bargain, they may reduce it to some misdemeanor or something. They won't let him go because after that, they judged the judgment. They dismissed the case with prejudice. When they say they dismiss the case with prejudice, that means you have nothing more to answer for. So I think they just got him on unexplained cash. But does he have a relationship with Akonde? He definitely has a relationship with Akonde and that really.
And a financial relationship.
Financial relationship for sure.
With a known drug dealer.
With a known drug dealer.
And it was handling money for a known drug dealer.
Yeah, but is that 80K that you can tell he used that money to open the account? He sent that money back to that guy. That one's for sure. But the 500K, the 1.2 million, all that stuff that is moving
so
from
the 460K that it wasn't drug related. It was unaccounted.
No, it's just unaccounted money.
Okay.
Yes, because they said we don't know all. Because if they know, they will tell you you are being charged for this. They just said probable cause because it may be related to this or this.
So can we ask you now?
Can we ask
Kulata a question? Question.
One.
All right. You said so many things, and in fact, you brought so many light to some of the things I was not privy to. Maybe you did your extensive research. Anyway, so
it's not the document.
I just read it. I speed read.
And to add to it, there's a Netflix to it. That Akonde guy. You can watch it.
Is it that same Akonde guy?
Yeah.
No, that's not Akonde. That's senator that's died now. What's his name?
Sorry, that guy that but they link it. There's
Kashami.
Episode 6. They brought
what's his name again?
Guy in.
Kashami, is it Kashami?
Kashami, yeah.
All right. Your question, rational mind.
Yeah. So you said a lot. Now my question is that you said I've forgotten what I wanted to ask you. Go on, just go on.
Right. All right. So what the conclusions? Kulata, what did you conclude?
Conclusion: Tinubu definitely knew of the Akonde guy. Probably knew what he was doing because they is the same address that the pager that the initial American guy that they caught, he bought drugs from, heroin. And that address is the address Tinubu used to open his own account. Is that 7505 South Shore, whatever address in Chicago? So that initial account he opened is linked to Akonde. But is it that initial amount that got flagged? No, it's more about in 1990 when he started moving 600,000, 1.2 million into the account. And then they did not get him like this is drug money. They just said it's unexplained and it could or drugs. So my case is, why did you now dismiss it with prejudice? Meaning you have no other case to answer. Because if they dismiss a case with prejudice, it's not prejudice meaning you do something bad. It's more like we've dismissed this case and you will never answer for this case again. You can go and check the definition of dismiss with prejudice.
So it raises many questions. Like one man said, that brings about speculation. Now, one of the questions that I would want to ask is, to the best of our knowledge, is that how is because from what I read from the court documents, there were 10 different accounts in different banks linked to Tinubu. If you count those number of accounts there, you see there are 10 different accounts. What would somebody be doing with 10 different accounts?
It's a consultant now.
That is not. That won't hold water in court. What do you mean? What can
how many bank accounts do you have? Hold on. How many bank accounts do you have? I have about 4.
That doesn't hold water now. Rational mind. Come up with something more.
It's okay. I mean, I'm getting somewhere with that question. That's what I'm asking. I know he said he does consulting. He's a consulting accountant and whatever. Now,
I'm not saying he's a consulting accountant. It's clearly linked with the drug guy. I'm not carrying brief for anybody. But you can't make your case by saying, well, why will you have 10 different accounts? That's kind of like, come on now, do better.
I'm just using the word that some of us use it, like people like Patrick and one man, that people have accounts for their clients. In a word, they are consulting. Their client consult them on whatever tax related, whatever they want to do. Now, you see, let me just get to the point, one man, before.
Yeah.
When you start doing like that, start losing my train of thought.
You have the floor. Carry on.
I don't want to say things that would infuriate you, that will make you feel like maybe I'm here to start.
No, you don't infuriate me, but I'll push back if you're not saying something that is factual. But get to get to where you want to take Kulata to.
My point is that how is Abibat and Oluremi linked to this? And like you established,
I did not see. The only time I saw Oluremi was joint account in the open with Oluremi.
Okay, so then they said according to these people, this Gazette, People's Gazette, they said she was linked, and like one man read. Now my question is,
I said Mogaji. I didn't say Abibat.
Mogaji, yeah, Mogaji.
That's the first time mother. Oluremi is the wife.
I know Oluremi is, but I mean, yes. I read from People's Gazette that she was also involved.
Who is K.O. Tinubu? Because I'm also seeing another name, K.O.
Yeah, K.O. Tinubu.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's you became Oluremi, I don't know, whatever. So anyway, so
Alaji Mogaji.
They meant to say Abibatu Mogaji. That's what they
Alaji. They didn't say Alaja. They say Alaji.
But I know they say Alaji, some of Alaja. We know who they were referring to. So now,
what do you mean we don't know?
Anyway,
I mean, okay, maybe somebody else is being mentioned, but then.
So okay, rational mind. In another part of the case, ownership interest in the funds that Tinubu claims, I think is those 1.2,600,000. Bola Tinubu, K.O. Tinubu, individually and on behalf of Tinubu family. Alaji Mogaji. Those are the 3 names that they said claims ownership to those massive funds. Not the 80,000, no. That 80,000, we know Tinubu sent it back.
You're talking about the $460,000.
The 460 forfeited.
Now, you see, so many questions, but let me go straight to this point. This question here. The question is, why did Tinubu not dispute this money if really this money were legit?
But they can cut. They've already cut in that you've not paid taxes since 1984.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then they said your salary is 2,400 a month in Mobile, and Mobile said you're not transferring money. So that means like, do you want to go to jail for IRS or you want to settle?
Yeah. So that brings me to another question, like the IRS part of it. The court that was released today asked to one of the financial investigators within the IRS who did that investigation. Now, the issue now is not just money laundering alone. Also, tax evasion is also part of it. We've
already said he's not paid taxes since 1984. I don't understand your point. Like, we've said he has undeclared, he has money. He hasn't paid taxes.
We're all waiting for him to land somewhere, but
we are fixating only just the money laundering aspect and the drug.
Take us to where you want us to be.
But also the tax, there's a tax evasion, like you yourself established here.
Right.
You said,
yes, now.
Listen, my friend, listen. You are in America here, you are a green card holder, you are a US citizen, or you're just an immigrant here. That's what they call TIN, tax something number, identification number. You'll be given that. You have to pay tax. So if this guy has not been paying tax for that number of years that he has been in America here, that is tax evasion. That's a financial crime.
How is it different from a Pandora account that has not paid Nigerian tax?
Oh my goodness! You see what?
No, what is oh my goodness? How is that different? No, wait.
We are deviating.
Everybody, hold on. So, rational mind, take us to where you want to be without saying, "Oh, that is how you spin," and all. Leave all of that.
I'm not saying that.
No, because it was going left field. But take Kulata to where you question him.
I just throw something to Kulata now that we only fixated on the money laundering aspect and the drug thing.
And tax.
And the tax. No, I just brought up the tax and the tax. I mean,
I said the tax earlier on. Maybe you weren't listening to me.
Well, I mean, in the comment section when you and I were bantering on it, that was when I brought it up. That check
paragraph. But I've come here now to speak, and I spoke that since 1984, he hasn't paid taxes.
Which I'm saying that this guy we're talking about here, there's a lot of things around him.
Like what?
Like what?
I mean, it's a criminal. This is a criminal we're talking about here.
Well, we know it's a criminal.
It's a suspect. It's not a criminal.
This is a
suspect. If they caught him with drugs, he will have gone to jail.
All right, so hold on. We've been waiting for 20 minutes. So
my point is that you've established here that this guy evaded tax.
Right.
He has not paid tax.
Yes, and they paid a heavy financial price for that. Yes.
Oh man, it's because he was caught red-handed. If he was not caught red-handed, he would have gone scot-free.
Let me ask you a quick question.
How many businessmen are not out there trying
to evade? This is when I use the word.
One man, rational minds. Let me ask you a quick question. You said you export. Wait, you said you export to Nigeria, Abi. All the profits you make in Nigeria, do you declare taxes in America?
You said what? Say that again, please.
You said you sell stuff in Nigeria. I don't know if you ship cars or whatever.
Okay.
So all the money you make in Nigeria, do you come back to IRS and say, this is how much I make? Uncle Sam, take my tax money.
Very good question. I pay my tax here.
That wasn't the question.
No, that's not the question. You pay taxes. If you work here, you pay taxes there. For foreign profit, do you come and pay taxes here?
I'm not obliged to do that.
You are.
I'm not. I am not.
That is 401k. You are obliged to pay it.
You are obliged.
Look at person trying to
hold on. Kulata, that question, Kulata, can I interject? Kulata, that question is not question that
one at a time. Yeah, go on.
Let me say this. That question is not fair from Kulata. And why is not fair? Okay, I will tell you. Okay, hold on.
Rational mind. Let Adele Koko interject. Yeah, go on.
By the time he's buying that vehicle, he already paid tax.
So for purchase, yes.
Yes, he already paid tax. Hold on, man. He already paid tax.
What kind of tax did he pay?
Sales tax.
Sales tax.
Okay.
Hold on. He already paid tax.
You already pay sales tax, please.
Yes, already pay sales tax. Yeah, right there.
So, continue, please.
So he is running it as a business that is registered, that he buys, and at the end of the year, he's going to file his tax.
Which tax?
He's going to file his end of the year tax for his business.
Which one now?
Hold on, everybody. Ajale Koko, what Kulata is inviting is, are the profits he makes in Nigeria
on the business?
Does it declare that
income tax on the profit?
Filings? Yeah.
What kind of question is that?
Because it is obliged by law.
No, it's not obliged by law.
It's obliged.
It's not obliged by law.
Let me even shock you. Do you know that?
Hold on. Let's hear from Patrick. Let
me tell you, shock you. You know, if you now as an American citizen, if you travel to Nigeria, and there's a residency table that they use. Generally, calculation of tax. If you go to Nigeria and you get a job in Nigeria and you are earning Nigerian income, if you are not resident in Nigeria for a particular number of days, maybe 270 days, maybe the total number of days you spent in Nigeria in that year, even though you were working in Nigeria, was not to 270 days, you are still considered a resident of US, and that salary you earn in Nigeria, you come and pay tax on it in the US.
Have you heard about double taxation?
I'm a tax professional.
Speaking like an expert.
I'm a tax professional.
He's an expert.
Hold on.
I'm a CPA.
Hold on, rational mind. He is an expert.
I'm a tax professional. I work for the biggest accounting firm in the world.
He is an expert. Yes.
Do you know about? Are you privy? Do you know about the US tax law?
I do, rational mind.
You see some of these things.
Now,
let me tell you.
I'm sorry. Hold on, Patrick. Rational mind. Have you been evading tax? You opened up the space. Look at this guy.
Let's end this tax matter.
I'm just joking. No, you are not even.
Hold on.
But this is just.
I will tell you.
All right.
I found my tax.
But then we move on. Yeah.
I found my tax here in America, and I've never had any problem with the IRS. So now the point
full disclosure.
Yeah, I do. I mean, definitely I know there are people. I know the US, the IRS fraud team. They are always scouring the internet to see.
Okay.
So I don't. They can trace with my IP. That's no problem. I have no problem with that. So my point is this. The point I'm making here is this: that in double taxation, if you pay a foreign tax, there's a way you can do it in the United States here that you will not be obliged to pay taxes. It's just a matter of you understanding the tax law here and how you can evade that part. I mean, legally, you will not, let me say evade. Legally, you won't even pay that tax.
Look at that.
Hold on. One man. This guy is speaking like he's an expert. And he
is an expert.
No, I'm talking about Kulata.
Rational mind. Sorry, what you are getting wrong. See, rational mind. Sorry, what you are getting wrong. In any boss in America, in any boss in America, which involves monetary aspect, the IRS comes in because they have to addict that person what he really wants. So Tinubu case is not different. Since there's a drug bust and there's money involved, the IRS will come to check if this man pays tax is paying tax regularly. If he's paying tax regularly, the IRS will back out. Different section will come in to check. So it's normal in America. So bringing that tax section in Tinubu like it's a different crime. It's not. It's an American procedure.
Oh my goodness. What are you people talking about?
All right. I don't want us to labor it too much. Have the final word on that space, rational mind, and then we move on. And then Kulata will have the final say.
Yeah, my point is this. I think Kulata has made so many points here already that we should all think about. It's left for everybody to think about it. Those people who want to vote in Nigeria, there's another dimension I want to bring into this matter, but I won't bring it right now. Maybe when I have my own time to talk about it.
All right, bring it so maybe Kulata can take it.
It's not something. It's beyond the words Kulata can answer, but it's something I just want to bring to everybody so everybody think about it, reflect on that.
All right.
The same style we've seen with the same pattern we've seen with this man. The way he does is because it's a very should I say an astute accountant who knows all the tricks in the book. The same thing we are seeing with the Alpha Beta. The Alpha Beta matter.
My goodness.
One of the director brought a money laundering allegation against Alpha Beta, which is still
is it Ajero or something like that? We did that here.
So I think the case is out of court.
When somebody's an offender, has a criminal intent, criminal mind, and they've not been convicted and not been going through some kind of rehabilitation, it's very hard for such people.
Criminal mind is not enough. It's called actus reus and mens reus. That's law. Criminal intent, then criminal act. You can't convict on criminal intent, actus reus, mens reus.
They use that. They do use that in court. That somebody has a criminal intent. They use that. That could be.
No. What are you talking about? Law is pretty. Okay, let's just leave it.
So we can't convince someone from
you cannot.
You always talk about things you don't.
Hold on now, one man.
Let me just say there's one abiding rule in law that subsists as the primary rule, and in Latin they call it mens reus, which is criminal intent, and then actus reus, which is criminal action. You cannot convict on mens reus.
I'm not saying you have to convict. I'm not saying you have. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you convict on criminal intent, but it's left for the prosecutor to prove that criminal intent, which is the other one you talk about, the action part of it.
And you cannot even convict on actus reus. You have to convict. But there has to anyway. Let Kulata round off your. Well, land that point though because you've been on it for half an hour.
We've seen that part. We've seen when somebody is a repeated sex offender, repeated offender.
Yeah,
it's ingrained in them. We've seen that pattern.
You're a psychologist now. You're a psychologist as well now.
Yeah, no, we've seen that with Alpha Beta because somebody just accused him. I mean, there's an accusation and he's still pending in court.
An accusation,
so,
right?
You see, it's left for Nigerians to ask themselves: do we want somebody like this with a shady history and so many allegations around him with so many question marks around his personality, about his history? And is that going to find for president? Because actually, one man.
Name one person in the field that doesn't have a shady past.
That is why we want people with no shady past.
Like whom?
Well, it's up to you. It's up to Nigerians to mention that, to say that. I'm not here to come and tell anybody who that. But I have my own. I know the person that I would vouch for, and I've said it here.
Vote for him now. Is he not a presidential candidate? Vote for him now. Who are you vouching for?
Well, I've said it. Sowore is my number one. But in the absence of him,
Sowore has a shady past.
What's the shady past? Bring it up if you have it.
It is association with Makata